Hello and welcome to my channel. In the previous video I built up this goblin hut, and now it's time to build up the big guy on the right hand side. The Tarrasque figure is gigantic and it comes on several sprues. I start off by snipping off all the parts, then I tidied them all up using a hobby knife and a file, and then I ended up with a pile of parts like this. Archon Studio don't skimp when it comes to the quality of the plastics. I found the first two pieces, so it's time to assemble the base. Regular plastic cement works perfect for this type of build, as the parts were all together within seconds. I just need to add a couple more pieces, then the base is finished. The base, although impressive, it only really serves the purpose of stopping the creature from falling over, as you'll see very shortly. Because as I've already mentioned, this thing is gigantic. And now it's time to assemble the Tarrasque itself. Just look how chunky these pieces are. And that just shows that this is going to be a very sturdy figure. And the only downside I've noted with the Archon Studios kits is that you seem to be left with a lot of seam lines to fill in. But for the time being, I'm going to concentrate on building this beast. As you can see, I've assembled the tail, and now moved on to the body. And then next I add on the limbs. These parts slot into a preset pose, which makes assembly go together a lot quicker. And then last of all, I have to assemble the head. First goes on the mouth, which wraps around the tongue, and that's followed by the top of the head, and then finally the horns. And that's the first stage completed. And here we have the fully assembled Tarrasque. I don't even know how this guy is going to fit on a game board, let alone defeat him in combat. As I noted earlier, this figure is full of seam lines and gaping holes. And while this figure doesn't need to be perfect, I am going to fill in the most noticeable ones. There is a pretty obvious one going down his tail, as well as across his chest. And this is a job for green stuff. This is a two-part epoxy which you can mix together, plug into the gaps and sculpt. So hopefully once it's painted you won't even notice there was a gap there in the first place. It takes a little bit of time to do, but it's worth it in the end. And the paint should cover it all up nicely. Then I sprayed on some black primer. And the reason I chose black is so I can retain the shadows later on. The majority of this project will be done by dry brushing. That way I can blend the colour better and the black is retained in the recesses. And for the base colours I used a variety of pale yellows, and I changed the colour variation when it comes to something like the underbelly or the spines. And for the rocky spines on the back I painted the tips of them orange. And you can see how it blends nicely from the yellow. I used a dark pink for the tongue. I dry brushed the face a slightly different shade to the rest of the body. And then I brushed on a cream colour for the horns. I then brushed on an orange for the tip of the tail. And I also used the same colour for the other raised areas along the tail. I painted all the nails in bone white. And for the eyes I used a nice red. This was difficult to achieve on camera, but you'll see in the next shot that I achieved it. I even added a bit of a glow around the eyes. And I used an off-white for the teeth. I then went over the tips of the spines with a bright red. This helped with the colour progression and made them pop. And I continued this along the back and the tail. And then all the white areas are covered in a brown wash. And this helped the claws, teeth and horns look more aged and natural. And once these areas have dried, I give them a light dry brush, and this brings back the highlight. And now to turn my attention to the base. And for this I basically brush on several different shades of grey, as I'm wanting the stone to look weathered and uneven. And this is also helped by randomly dabbing on some black wash, along with some other subtle colour variations. And now that's all unified, there are certain areas that need to stand out a little bit more, and for that I use some panel liner. This seeps into the crevices and basically gives everything a black outline. And that's the mighty Tarrasque virtually complete. I just need to seal in all that paint with a matte sealer, and then I add some random grass and flowers to the base. Unfortunately this guy is so big I can't fit him on my turntable. I can barely get him on camera in one piece. The box art for the Tarrasque is done mostly red colour, but I wanted to put my own spin on this, and I'm glad I did, because I think it looked more organic in the end. And just look at the size difference compared to a couple of normal miniatures. This guy is going to take up a large portion of the gaming table, and is certainly not going to be easy to defeat. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if I can do it, so can you.